They thought laughter was gone forever. They thought silence would keep us enslaved. But one broadcast proved them wrong, because laughter conquers. Crawling from every corner of the world, come the stories that should never be told. Creepy stories from around the world. If you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It truly helps us make more of this type of content. The old studio had been silent for a decade. Dust lay thick across the floor, muffling every step. The audience seats were cracked and broken, their plastic backs collapsed like ribs. Overhead, dead lights dangled from rusted arms, the ghosts of cameras staring into the dark. Jack Delaney stood at the threshold, remembering the place alive. He remembered laughter rolling in waves, remembered the sharp crack of applause after every punchline, remembered the hum of energy that only Elliot Shaw could command from a crowd. Back then, he had been the protege, the fresh face Elliot had lifted from obscurity. Now the studio felt like a mausoleum. "You kept the key?" Jack asked quietly, his voice catching on the still air. From behind the desk, a figure rose. Elliot Shaw, older now, his hair white, his shoulders still straight despite the years. His jacket was frayed at the cuffs, but he wore it like armor. His eyes still held that piercing brightness that once lit up late-night television. "Of course I kept it," Elliot said, voice low but steady. "This was the last true stage in the country. You don't throw something like that away." Jack let out a dry laugh and lowered himself into one of the broken chairs. "It's a tomb, Elliot. Nothing more." "Not yet." Elliot moved around the desk with the slow grace of someone who refused to let age bend him. He leaned forward, lowering his voice until it was almost conspiratorial. "I've been watching," he said, "listening. The order, it isn't what you think. At first I thought it was just religion, same old story, men with crosses and slogans mixing purity with power. But Jack," his hand pressed against the desk, knuckles white, "I've seen things." Jack frowned. "You sound like one of those lunatics on shortwave radio." "Maybe, but I saw it with my own eyes." Elliot's voice was sharp, urgent. "Last winter, I went to one of their rallies, 500 people in a square. A priest speaks 3 words, not English, not Latin, something older. The crowd froze, every single one. Not a cough, not a breath, their eyes rolled white." He swallowed, the memory hanging heavy in his throat. And then they moved, all of them in perfect unison, like marionettes on strings. Jack shifted uncomfortably, the joke forming on his tongue dying before he could speak it. There was no humor in Elliot's face. "You think it's religion," Elliot pressed, "but it isn't. It wears the mask of faith. Underneath it's sorcery. They've bound the country with spells and dressed them up as sermons. They're feeding on obedience." Jack forced a scoff, though his throat was tight. "It's brainwashing, that's all. Propaganda. Drugs in the water, maybe. But sorcery? Elliot, come on." Elliot cut him off with a sharp shake of his head. "I thought the same. God help me. I wanted to believe it was just men with microphones. But once you see it, you can't unsee it." He pulled a battered portable screen from under the desk and flicked it on. Static filled the air, then a flicker of footage, a broadcast from the order. A priest in robes, his arms stretched wide, a congregation swaying behind him. Then the picture shimmered, not static, not distortion, heat haze bending reality itself. The faces of the congregation blurred, flickered between human and something else. Jack's breath caught, his chest tightened. "What the hell is that?" Elliot's voice was quiet, certain. "Not what? Who? They've opened a door to something, and they've dressed it up as salvation." The screen hummed, showing blank eyes and swaying bodies. For the first time in 10 years, Jack felt a chill that went deeper than fear of the order. This was something else, something older. "Jesus Christ," Jack whispered. Elliot gave him a thin, bitter smile. "Don't call him. He doesn't own this anymore." Maria Cortez arrived first. Jack heard her footsteps echoing through the hollow corridors long before he saw her. She stepped into the ruined studio with the same sharp energy she had carried on stage a decade ago. Even now, in her 60s, her presence filled the room like a cutting line. "You dragged me all the way through patrol checkpoints for this," she said, brushing dust off her jacket. "If this is a reunion special, you should have warned me. I'd have brought makeup." Jack smirked faintly, but Elliot's face remained grave. "You'll want to see this," Elliot said. He replayed the broadcast on the battered screen. The same priest, the same chant, the same impossible shimmer. The congregation's faces flickered, shifting, warping in ways that bent the stomach. Maria's smirk died. She leaned closer, frowning. "That's not camera trickery." "No," Elliot said. "It's sorcery." Maria shook her head, a short, humorless laugh escaping her. "You're telling me the government's running on dark magic now? What's next? Dragons in Parliament?" But her voice carried no conviction. She kept watching the screen, eyes narrowing. "Whatever it is, it's real, and it's wrong." Before Jack could answer, the doors at the far end of the studio banged open. Lou Bernstein strode in with a lopsided grin and a bundle of scavenged gear under one arm. His hair was wild, his clothes mismatched, but the gleam in his eyes hadn't dimmed in all the years of silence. "I brought props," he announced, tossing a cracked rubber chicken onto the desk. Its squeaker wheezed pitifully, the sound echoing through the empty space. Lou burst out laughing at his own absurdity, the sound loud, raw, unrestrained. And then something happened. The portable screen fizzed. The shimmer in the footage wavered, as if Lou's laugh had disrupted it. The priest's voice faltered, the blurred faces of the congregation snapping back to clarity for just an instant before the recording stabilized again. The room went still. Jack stared. "Did you see that?" Maria's eyes were wide. His laugh, it broke something. Lou looked around, bewildered. "What? I just thought it was funny." Elliot leaned back, his gaze sharp. "Not just funny, powerful." He turned to the others, voice steady but urgent. "Don't you see? Laughter cuts through it. Their sorcery feeds on obedience, on silence, on fear. But mockery, satire, joy, it unravels their spells." The weight of his words settled over the studio. For 10 years, the Order had ruled without challenge, their sermons reshaping reality itself. And now, for the first time, they had found a weapon. Not a gun, not a bomb, but the thing they had always carried, the thing the Order had feared most, laughter. Jack exhaled slowly, realization dawning. "So what you're saying is, we don't just fight them." He glanced at Elliot, then at Maria and Lou. "We put on a show." Lou grinned, holding up the rubber chicken like a sword. "Now that's my kind of revolution." The others didn't laugh. Not yet. But in the silence that followed, the idea took root. Dangerous, absurd, and undeniable. The last comedians in a broken world had just discovered the only thing strong enough to tear down sorcery. The studio flickered to life for the first time in a decade. Cables hissed, monitors buzzed, and cameras blinked awake under Elliot's careful hand. The old desk, scarred by time, glowed once more under stage lights. Dust swirled in the beams, as if the air itself remembered what this place had once been. Elliot settled into the host's chair. Jack sat at his side, Maria leaned against the edge of the stage, and Lou paced with manic energy, clutching his rubber chicken like a sacred relic. For 10 years, silence had ruled the airwaves. Tonight, laughter would return. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," Elliot said, voice steady, resonant, carrying the rhythm of an opening monologue. "We know you're out there, hiding in the dark. Don't change the channel. This isn't a sermon." Jack leaned forward, eyes gleaming. 10 years without late-night TV, 10 years of nothing but the Order telling you what to believe. You'd think after all that time they'd at least come up with better material. Maria smirked. "The problem with tyrants? No sense of humor. They banned jokes because they knew if anyone laughed at them, the whole act would collapse." Lou squeezed the rubber chicken. It wheezed, pitiful and shrill. He stared at it, deadpan. "Sounds like one of their ministers trying to sing." The others broke into chuckles. And then, faint but real, came another laugh. Not from them, but from the speakers. Someone out there listening in the shadows was laughing with them. The sound seemed to ripple through the studio. The lights brightened, the static in the monitors fizzed. Something shifted, and then the doors slammed open. Boots pounded across the floor as soldiers in black armor stormed in, rifles raised. Their faces were blank, eyes glassy with the Order's spell. They moved in mechanical unison, spreading out to surround the stage. The comedians froze, the soldiers leveled their rifles, and then Maria broke the silence. She stepped forward, her voice sharp, fearless. "Careful, boys. Point those things too long and people might mistake you for the laugh track." It was reckless, absurd, but the line cut through the tension like a blade. One soldier twitched, his rifle wavered, and then, unexpectedly, he barked out a laugh. Harsh, startled, the kind of laugh that bursts free when you least expect it. Every head turned. Another soldier snorted, shoulders shaking, then another and another, until the sound filled the studio, a chorus of laughter breaking the spell. Their eyes cleared, their stares softened. Rifles drooped toward the floor. Lou stepped closer, grinning wide. "Look at that! We finally got a live audience!" He spread his arms to the soldiers like a ringmaster. "Gentlemen, welcome to late night." The soldiers lowered their weapons completely. Some pulled off their helmets, confusion and relief written across their faces. They didn't run. They didn't flee. They stayed. And then, unbelievably, they laughed louder, openly, as if the weight of 10 years had just lifted from their shoulders. Elliot leaned toward the microphone, his voice steady with triumph. "This is it. Do you feel it? Laughter isn't just rebellion, it's freedom." The studio came alive. The soldiers sat in the audience seats, filling the rows once empty. Their laughter rolled like thunder as Jack and Maria threw barbs at the order, as Lou's nonsense tumbled into absurdity, as Elliot guided it all with the timing of a master conductor. For the first time in 10 years, late night was alive again. Not in secret, not in silence, but in front of an audience reborn. And somewhere beyond the studio walls, across the airwaves, laughter spread like wildfire. Across the city, the air changed. In a crumbling apartment block, a family huddled in silence around a battered radio. For years they had obeyed out of instinct, their thoughts dulled by the nightly sermons. Now, through the crackling speaker came a sound long forgotten, laughter. It began faint, hesitant, then rolled stronger as the jokes poured from the old studio. The father blinked, frowning. Something in his chest loosened, something he hadn't felt in years. A laugh, small, awkward, escaped him. His wife stared, wide-eyed, as if she were watching a stranger. Then she joined him, chuckling, clutching her sides as the spell broke apart inside her. Their children, bewildered at first, began to giggle too. The whole family collapsed into a storm of laughter that shook the dust from the rafters. In the streets below, others heard it too. Radios in shops, in basements, in hidden corners, all carried the forbidden broadcast. People leaned closer, hungry, their faces twitching with unfamiliar expression, until it burst out of them, raw, unrestrained laughter. And with every laugh, the order's hold weakened. On the edge of the city, a procession of the faithful was moving down the main road. Hundreds walked in perfect unison, their eyes glazed, chanting a hymn that warped the very air. Their voices were hollow, the sound heavy with enchantment. Then, from an open window above, Lou's squeaky rubber chicken wheezed over the broadcast, followed by Jack's sharp delivery. "Ladies and gentlemen, it turns out the order doesn't hate comedy. They just prefer jokes that die faster than we do." Someone in the crowd snorted. Just one, sharp and real. Heads turned. The chant faltered. A second voice laughed, then another, until the spell cracked open. One by one, the marchers stumbled free of the rhythm, clutching their bellies, wiping tears from their eyes. The chant dissolved into a ragged chorus of laughter, echoing off the stone walls. For the first time in 10 years, the sound of joy filled the streets. Back in the studio, Elliot saw the feed flicker on the portable monitor. Cameras hidden in the city caught the processions unraveling, soldiers throwing down weapons, families spilling into the streets, laughing and crying together. His throat tightened. He leaned forward, voice breaking slightly, but still carrying command. "Do you see it? This is the power they feared most. Not guns, not swords, this, your laughter." The audience of soldiers roared approval, stamping their boots, clapping their hands. Maria leaned into the microphone, her eyes burning. "They told you laughter was sin. They told you humor was rebellion. They were right." And all across the country, people who had been bowed and broken for a decade felt something stir again. Something they had thought long dead. Hope. In the order's sanctum, deep beneath their cathedral, high priests watched the broadcast with growing horror. The walls trembled with each peal of laughter echoing through the city. Their chants wavered, their symbols flickered. One priest's mouth twisted in fury. They found the counterspell. The cathedral's bells rang at midnight, a low, metallic toll that rolled across the city like thunder. People looked up from their radios, laughter still lingering in their throats, as the air itself seemed to shiver. In every home, in every street, screens crackled to life without being touched. Radios seized control, tuning themselves. The order was broadcasting. The high priests filled the screens, faces pale and burning with fanatic fire. Their voices rose in unison, a chant that made the air vibrate, syllables that weren't words but wounds. Reality bent around the sound. Lights flickered, walls groaned. The people who had just been freed staggered, clutching their heads, the laughter dying in their throats. In the studio, Elliot slammed a hand against the desk. "They're pushing back." His voice was steady, but his knuckles were white. "They'll try to bind the whole nation again. If they succeed, we lose everything." Maria leaned forward, sharp as a blade. "So we shout louder." Jack shook his head. "Not just louder, funnier. We have to make them laugh so hard they can't hear the chanting." Lou grinned, his eyes gleaming with something like madness. "Then let's give them a show they'll never forget." The cameras rolled. Elliot opened, his voice slicing into the airwaves with perfect timing. "Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like the Order decided to compete with us. I've heard their material. Terrible pacing, no punchline, and their audience? Completely brain dead." Jack cut in, quick, relentless. "Honestly, I've seen funerals with more energy. At least corpses don't chant off-key." Maria's voice followed, dripping with venom. "They promised eternal life, and all we got was eternal sermons. I'd rather die than sit through another hymn." Lou squeezed the chicken, squeak. He held it up to the camera, deadpan. "Even this bird has better delivery." The studio audience, those soldiers who had broken free, erupted. Their laughter was explosive, rolling like thunder, and through the airwaves it carried. Across the city, people doubled over, howling, the priests chanting, battling against a tide of laughter that only grew louder. In homes, in basements, in the streets, the people chose, not silence, not obedience, but laughter. And with every laugh, the priests' images flickered. Their robes dissolved into smoke, their voices cracked, then broke. In the cathedral, the high priests faltered. Their eyes widened as cracks split the marble floor. The symbols carved into the walls bled light, their spells unraveling with every echo of joy. One priest screamed, covering his ears as if laughter were fire. Another collapsed, writhing, his chants turning into broken sobs. Back in the studio, Elliot felt the surge, the energy of thousands laughing together. He leaned forward, his voice steady, proud. "This is it. Their sorcery feeds on fear. So laugh, laugh until they choke on it." The people obeyed, not with prayers, not with chants, but with laughter so loud it shook the city. The cathedral's great spire cracked, stone splitting under the weight of sound. The broadcast of the priests vanished in a burst of static. The Order's counterattack had failed. In the silence that followed, broken only by the echo of laughter, Maria whispered into the mic, her voice soft but unyielding. "You see, laughter conquers. Always." If you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It truly helps us make more of this type of content.